Hello friends. Have you ever noticed how some people reply instantly while others seem to vanish into thin air right after you text them? Or how some send a 5-paragraph essay while others just drop a single emoji? Maybe it's written in the stars. Let's decode how each zodiac sign texts, because your texting style might say more about your personality than you think. After watching, if you'd like to support the channel, click the Thanks button right under this video or use the donation alerts link in the description. Your support really helps me keep creating. And of course, if you enjoy the content, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for being here. Now let's continue. Aries, March 21st to April 19th. Texting in Aries is like stepping into a digital wildfire. It's bright, it's fast, and it burns with raw enthusiasm. When an Aries messages you, their texts often come flying in like they're part of a competition to see who can type the quickest. You can practically feel their pulse through the screen, a rhythm that says, "I'm here, I've got something to say, and I'm saying it now." Aries doesn't waste time crafting perfect sentences or debating over punctuation. They want to get their excitement out immediately. Expect a flurry of exclamation points, emojis that look like they've just escaped a fireworks show, and maybe even some words in all caps when they're feeling especially fired up. They text like they live, impulsively, energetically, and with a kind of passionate urgency that can either make you smile or make your phone buzz out of control. Their style is all about action. If they want to meet, they'll text, "Let's go," rather than, "When are you free?" If they're happy, you'll know. If they're annoyed, you'll definitely know. Aries doesn't hide behind polite wording or vague messages. They'll tell you straight up what's on their mind because subtlety just isn't their native texting language. And when they're in a good mood, they'll hype you up like a motivational coach. "You've got this," or "That's amazing." They use texting as a form of self-expression, a way to transfer their fiery spirit into written words. But here's the catch: patience isn't their strong suit. Leave them on scene, and their first instinct isn't sadness, it's a mix of irritation and independence. They'll notice, shrug, and move on. In their mind, if you're not keeping up with their pace, they've got better things to do. They might even reply with a short, dry "okay" before redirecting their energy elsewhere. Still, an Aries doesn't hold grudges for long. If they care about you, they'll be back with the same intensity as before, as if nothing ever happened. They love conversations that feel alive, short messages, fast replies, witty comebacks. Long pauses make them anxious because silence feels like a challenge. They want to feel the connection happening in real time, like a verbal tennis match of words and emotions. And even though their messages might seem impulsive, they come from a place of honesty and excitement. They truly want to share a piece of their world with you, right now. An Aries texter is that friend who sends you a message before thinking it through, who texts, "I have an idea," at midnight, or who starts 10 conversations in one day and finishes none, but every single one makes you laugh. Their communication style is like caffeine for your phone, bold, bright, and impossible to ignore. And deep down, behind the exclamation marks and quick replies, is a heart that just wants to connect through raw, unfiltered energy. So, if you're texting an Aries, buckle up. Their messages will make your phone feel like it's on fire, but in the best possible way. Taurus, April 20th to May 20th. Texting a Taurus feels like sipping hot cocoa on a rainy day, warm, thoughtful, and grounding. Taurus doesn't rush to reply because for them, texting isn't just a form of communication, it's a mini ritual. They'll take their time to read, think, and feel before hitting send. Every word they choose carries intention. When you finally get a reply, it feels like a carefully wrapped gift, genuine, steady, and worth the wait. They're not the type to blow up your phone or send 20 texts in a row. Instead, they prefer calm, consistent exchanges that make them feel secure. You might text them something impulsive like, "Want to hang out right now?" and their reply, an hour later, will read, "That sounds great. How about tomorrow at 3? They like structure, predictability, and knowing that the energy they invest in communication is reciprocated. Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of love and comfort, so their texting tone reflects that tenderness. Their messages are cozy, often sprinkled with gentle humor or sweet check-ins like, "Did you eat?" or "Don't forget your jacket." They're the ones who remember your coffee order, your pet's name, or that random story you told them last week. Their memory in texting is impressive, and it shows how deeply they care, even in small gestures. They value emotional safety in digital communication. You'll never catch them starting a fight over text or throwing dramatic accusations. If they're upset, they'll step back, breathe, and wait until they can phrase things calmly. When they finally do text about it, their words will be balanced, firm, but fair. They believe texting should bring people closer, not tear them apart. Their typing speed might be slow, but that's because they like to reread before sending. They'll fix typos, add a heart emoji, or maybe a soft haha to make sure the message feels gentle. And while they appreciate modern texting culture, they're a bit old-fashioned at heart, preferring clarity over chaos, full sentences over abbreviations. They find stability in words, and their texts reflect that quiet strength. Taurus also loves consistency. They'll text you, "Good morning," every day without fail, or end conversations with, "Sleep well." They find comfort in routines and like knowing their loved ones are okay. To them, texting is another way of nurturing relationships, slow, steady, and full of meaning. But make no mistake, while they're calm, they're also firm about boundaries. If you ghost them, they won't chase. If you take them for granted, their replies will gradually shorten until they fade away entirely. Once a Taurus feels unappreciated, they retreat into silence, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. When they do open up, their texts are rich in emotion but never overwhelming. They might write, "I really enjoyed talking to you today," or, "You make me feel peaceful." That's their way of saying, "I care," without grand declarations. Their texting style mirrors their essence, loyal, sensual, and deeply human. So when a Taurus texts you, slow down. Feel the warmth in their words, the calm in their tone. Their replies may take time, but they're always worth waiting for, because in every message, you can sense their quiet devotion, their love for simple connection, and their desire to make you feel safe in their digital world. Gemini, May 21st to June 20th. Texting a Gemini is like tuning into a live broadcast of their mind, unfiltered, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating. When you text with a Gemini, you're not just chatting. You're stepping into a whirlwind of thoughts, jokes, emotions, and ideas that change directions faster than you can blink. They'll send a meme that makes you laugh, follow it with a deep philosophical question about life on Mars, then switch to planning a trip to Hawaii, all within 5 minutes. And the most surprising part? Somehow, it all feels natural. To them, conversation isn't a line, it's a constellation of connections, each message lighting up a different corner of their imagination. A Gemini's texting style mirrors their dual nature. One moment they're charming and flirty, using words like magic spells. The next, they're distant, floating in their thoughts, leaving you staring at a delivered notification. It's not that they don't care, it's just that their attention moves like lightning, chasing the next spark of curiosity. Their minds never rest, and their phones are their playground. Expect messages filled with energy, rapid-fire jokes, impulsive typos, and emojis that perfectly capture their every mood, from laughing faces to alien heads to shooting stars. Their texts are rarely dull. A Gemini could make even the most mundane topic sound interesting. They might text, "I'm making a sandwich," but like, why do we even call it a sandwich? Who was the first person to decide bread needed company? It's part of their charm. They turn casual conversation into a spontaneous thought adventure. And when they find someone who can keep up with their pace, who can volley their ideas back and forth with equal enthusiasm, they're hooked. They love connection, not just romantic or emotional, but mental. To a Gemini, texting is an art form. It's not just about sharing information, it's about creating rhythm, wit, and flow. They thrive on responses that surprise them, challenge them, or make them laugh. If your replies are slow, dry, or predictable, they'll lose interest fast. But if you mirror their energy, they'll text you all day long, jumping from one topic to another like it's an Olympic sport. You'll often find Geminis multitasking while texting, replying to 3 people at once, scrolling through TikTok, and reading an article about black holes in another tab. Their brains are wired for stimulation, and texting gives them that hit of instant interaction. They crave novelty, new words, new jokes, new perspectives. Their conversations can start with, "How's your day?" and somehow evolve into a heated debate about time travel or alternate realities. When they're in a good mood, their texts are pure sunshine, full of laughter, clever remarks, and affection disguised as sarcasm. But when they're in a bad mood, they might retreat into silence or send cryptic one-liners like, "Lol yeah." That's how you know their inner storm is brewing. They rarely confront things head-on through text because vulnerability feels too permanent in writing. They prefer to talk things out in person, where their charm can soften the edges. Geminis are wordsmiths at heart. They know how to say the right thing at the right moment, how to craft texts that make you laugh or melt with a single line. But they're also restless souls. If the conversation feels stagnant, they'll ghost without meaning to. It's not out of cruelty. They just get lost in the maze of their own curiosity. Texting them is an experience, part entertainment, part mystery, part roller coaster. You never know what you're going to get. A love confession at midnight, a random playlist at 2 a.m., or a voice note explaining why cats might secretly run the world. But that's the beauty of it. A Gemini's texts are alive. They breathe, they move, they surprise. If you're lucky enough to text with one, keep your replies witty, spontaneous, and open-minded. Don't expect consistency, expect connection. They'll disappear sometimes, but when they return, it's like they never left. Their mind is a kaleidoscope, and through their texts, you get to see every color. Cancer, June 21st to July 22nd. Texting a Cancer feels like a gentle heartbeat through your phone, soft, steady, and filled with care. They don't just text to talk, they text to connect. When a Cancer sends a message, it's more than words on a screen. It's an emotional thread reaching out for closeness. You'll often find them checking in. "How was your day? Did you eat? I was thinking about you." They remember small details that most people overlook, and their texts feel like home, safe, familiar, and deeply personal. When you text a Cancer, you're entering their emotional world, one built on empathy and intuition. They can sense your mood even through the way you type. A simple, "I'm fine," won't fool them. They'll immediately reply, "Are you sure?" They care deeply, sometimes to the point of overthinking every punctuation mark in your reply. If you take too long to respond, they might worry, wondering if they said something wrong or if you're upset with them. It's not insecurity, it's their heart being too open, too tuned to the emotional frequency of the people they love. Their messages are warm, often filled with heart emojis, soft words, and gentle humor. You might wake up to a sweet, "Good morning" text or a comforting, "Sleep well" message at night. For Cancers, texting is a form of affection, a way to say, "I'm here," even when they can't be physically close. They love long, emotional conversations, the kind that go on for hours and make both people feel seen. But if you ignore a Cancer for too long, their shell starts to close. You'll notice their texts getting shorter, colder, or vanishing altogether. They'll retreat into silence, not out of anger, but out of self-protection. Deep down, they crave reassurance. A simple, "I'm thinking of you," can melt their worries away. They want to feel your presence, even through pixels. Cancers are natural nurturers, and their texts reflect that. They'll remind you to rest, to drink water, to believe in yourself. When you're upset, they won't just say, "It'll be okay." They'll say, "Tell me what happened. I'm here." They're emotional healers, using words as comfort. Their texting style is intimate, emotional, and full of warmth, like a blanket woven from kindness. However, they also have a deeply private side. While they're generous with their affection, they're cautious about revealing their own pain. When they finally open up and say, "I've been feeling off lately," it means they trust you completely. Handle that with care. Their heart is tender, and once hurt, it takes a long time to rebuild their trust. Cancers love nostalgia. They might send you an old photo, a throwback memory, or a message that begins with, "Remember when?" They hold on to people and moments with fierce loyalty. If you've ever meant something to a Cancer, you'll always have a place in their phone and in their heart. Their ideal text exchange is one filled with mutual care, steady, meaningful, and emotionally honest. They're not here for surface-level chatter. They want depth, sincerity, and shared vulnerability. When you're texting a Cancer, you're not just talking, you're feeling. Their emotional intelligence makes every conversation more profound. You might text them about your day, and somehow, they'll turn it into a heart-to-heart about life, love, and dreams. They want to understand you, really understand you, through every word you send. So if a Cancer is texting you, don't take it lightly. They're offering you a piece of their heart, message by message. Be gentle with it, reply with warmth, and you'll have one of the most loyal, emotionally intuitive communicators in the zodiac on the other end of your phone. Leo, July 23rd to August 22nd. Texting a Leo feels like being part of a grand performance where every message is a mini monologue and every emoji is an exclamation of personality. Leos text like they're the main character, and honestly, they are. Their conversations sparkle with confidence, humor, and a flair for drama that makes even mundane chats feel like movie scenes. When a Leo texts you, you don't just read their words, you feel their presence radiating through the screen. It's all charisma, charm, and just the right amount of "look at me" energy that makes them completely unforgettable. Leos see texting as another stage, a space where their personality can shine just as brightly as it does in person. You'll get flirty emojis, dramatic punctuation, and perfectly timed gifs that somehow fit every situation. Their messages might come with an unspoken soundtrack, like Beyoncé's "Run the World," because that's the vibe they carry. They're natural storytellers, and even a simple "guess what happened today" can unfold into a whole cinematic retelling, suspense, emotion, and a punchline that lands perfectly. Compliment a Leo over text, and watch how the chat turns golden. They light up instantly, replying with playful gratitude, maybe a sparkle emoji or a "haha stop, you're making me blush." They thrive on appreciation, not out of vanity, but because it feeds their love language, recognition. When you notice their efforts, whether it's their new selfie, their humor, or their bold take on life, they feel seen, and nothing pleases a Leo more than feeling seen. But don't mistake their confidence for arrogance. Beneath the bold exteriors and witty one-liners is a heart that's loyal and warm. Leos care deeply about connection. They want their conversations to make others feel as alive as they do. They'll hype you up when you're down, text you affirmations, or drop something as simple as, "You've got this. You're amazing." Their loyalty translates into digital form, consistent check-ins, supportive messages, and a unique ability to make you feel special with just a few words. When they're excited, their texts explode with enthusiasm. Multiple exclamation marks, a stream of emojis, maybe even a spontaneous voice note. They're passionate communicators, and they put that fire into every message. You'll never get a dull, half-hearted "okay" from a Leo, unless they're really mad, in which case the sudden silence will say it all. If they feel ignored or underappreciated, their pride might kick in. They could pull back, texting less, or respond with dry humor masking disappointment. But the moment you acknowledge them again, show them warmth, attention, or genuine interest, they'll bounce right back into their radiant, expressive selves. Leos forgive easily when love feels real. They also adore playful banter. Tease them, and they'll tease back, but always in good fun. Their humor is sharp but never cruel. They love witty exchanges that feel like a dance, where both people bring energy and style. They want their texting conversations to have chemistry, rhythm, tension, laughter, and spark. And when they're in love, you'll know. Their texts will overflow with affection, confidence, and sometimes grand declarations that feel straight out of a romantic movie. They'll call you pet names, send good morning texts with sunshine emojis, and remind you how lucky you are to have them, half joking, half serious. At their core, Leos text with passion and purpose. They're not afraid to express themselves, to show their emotions, or to make you smile. Every message from a Leo is infused with life, bright, bold, and impossible to ignore. They don't just want to text, they want to connect. They want you to feel something, to laugh, to remember them when you put your phone down. Because for a Leo, love and attention are languages, and they're fluent in both. So when a Leo texts you, buckle up. It won't be a conversation, it'll be an experience. One filled with laughter, affection, and just enough drama to keep things exciting. Because when a Leo's involved, there's never a dull notification. Virgo, August 23rd to September 22nd. Texting a Virgo is like opening a perfectly written novel, precise, thoughtful, and surprisingly full of heart. Virgos don't just send messages, they craft them. Each word, comma, and emoji is deliberate. Their texts often feel calm, organized, and elegant, like they've passed through an invisible quality check before reaching your inbox. Grammar? Impeccable. Clarity? Always. And yet, beneath that polished surface lies a soul that cares deeply, one that uses language not just to communicate, but to connect with purpose. Virgos see texting as an art form. They'll pause before replying, considering tone, wording, and meaning. If they send a paragraph, know that every sentence was written with intention. They like their conversations clear and constructive, often steering away from chaos, miscommunication, or emotional messiness. A Virgo's ideal text exchange is one that feels grounded, something that leaves both people understood, not confused. They're practical, but that doesn't mean cold. In fact, their care often shows through subtle details, a reminder, a link to something you mentioned, or a text checking if you made it home safe. Their love is quiet but consistent, shown not through dramatic words but through reliability. You can always count on a Virgo to respond thoughtfully, even if it takes them a minute. They want to make sure they say exactly what they mean. Virgos also notice everything. If you change the way you type, use fewer emojis, or respond differently, they'll pick up on it instantly. They read between the lines, not to judge, but because they genuinely care about what's going on beneath the surface. They might ask, "Are you okay? You seem a bit off today." It's their way of saying, "I'm paying attention. I care." Their texts can sometimes sound a bit formal, especially when they're focused or stressed. But once they feel comfortable, that structure softens, and their dry humor and warm heart start to shine. You'll see witty observations, subtle jokes, and the occasional emoji, carefully chosen, of course. When they're explaining something, prepare for clarity. If you ask for advice, they'll give you a detailed breakdown, step by step. Sometimes it even looks like a mini essay, concise points, logical order, and a gentle tone that makes you trust every word. And if you follow their advice, they'll be quietly pleased, not because they want control, but because helping makes them feel useful and connected. Virgos are also natural problem solvers in text. If there's a misunderstanding, they won't escalate it, they'll de-escalate it with calm reasoning and empathy. They prefer resolution over drama. However, if they're hurt, they might retreat into politeness, replying briefly or not at all. That's their way of processing, silence over confrontation. Despite their analytical nature, Virgos have an incredibly tender side. When they care about you, they'll text you in little ways that show devotion. "Don't forget your umbrella, you've got this today," or "I made you a playlist for focus." It's love disguised as practicality. Their perfectionism can also make them overthink. They might draft a message, rewrite it 3 times, and still wonder if it sounded right. They value communication so much that they sometimes worry about getting it wrong. Reassurance goes a long way with them. A simple, "I love how thoughtful you are," melts their careful composure. When a Virgo falls in love, their texting turns from precise to poetic in its own understated way. They won't gush, but their words will carry depth, sincere, loyal, and quietly intense. They'll remember the little things you say and bring them up weeks later, proving how much they listen. Texting with a Virgo feels like breathing clean air, calm, clear, and comforting. They might not flood your phone with messages, but every one they send holds meaning. They text to understand, to help, to nurture, and to build something real. So if you're texting a Virgo, take a moment to appreciate the care in their words. Behind their perfectly structured messages is a heart that beats with quiet devotion, one that believes in thoughtful communication, mutual respect, and love that's expressed not through noise, but through presence. Libra, September 23rd to October 22nd. Texting a Libra is like having a conversation with charm itself, soft edges, graceful phrasing, and just enough wit to keep things sparkling. Libras text like diplomats, always seeking harmony in their digital world. Every message they send feels balanced, like it was weighed on invisible emotional scales before delivery. They think before they type, not because they're shy, but because they care about how their words make others feel. Their texts are friendly, beautifully worded, and full of social awareness. When you open a message from a Libra, it feels like sunlight through silk curtains, warm, easy, and refined. They're naturally poetic, even when they're saying something simple like, "Good morning." You'll find lots of heart emojis, smiley faces, and gentle laughter tucked into their texts, because they use digital language as a form of emotional connection. Libras are allergic to conflict, so they'll avoid sending anything that could sound harsh or dismissive. Instead, they'll rewrite a text 5 times, reading it out loud, making sure it strikes the perfect tone between sincerity and sweetness. They love beautiful communication, clever, kind, and aesthetically pleasing. Grammar matters, tone matters, punctuation matters. To them, a well-written text is like good fashion. It says something about who they are. You'll rarely see a Libra send something messy or abrupt. Even when they're rushing, they somehow make it sound polished. "Sorry for the late reply. Got caught up, but how are you doing?" See? Grace under pressure. Libras also love connection, and texting gives them an ideal space to maintain it. They'll check in often, not out of obligation, but because they truly enjoy keeping relationships alive. You might notice that they mirror your texting style, using your favorite emojis or pacing their responses like yours. That's not imitation, that's empathy. Libras naturally harmonize with people, making conversations flow effortlessly. However, they can be indecisive. Should we meet at 6 or 6:15? Might sound trivial, but to a Libra, those 15 minutes matter. They want everything to feel just right: the timing, the tone, the plan. That same indecision can show up in how they text during emotional moments. They might type out a heartfelt confession, then delete it, rewrite it, and still hesitate to hit send. They're perfectionists of peace, always trying to find the gentlest way to express themselves. If you text them something intense, like, "We need to talk," prepare for them to overthink every possible meaning before you clarify. They'll reread your message, analyze punctuation, and maybe even call a friend to interpret it. But once you explain, their relief and empathy will come rushing back like a wave of warmth. Libras are also natural flirts. Their texts can be playful, teasing, and full of charm. They'll send compliments that feel like velvet, soft but unforgettable. "You looked so good in that photo." Like, unfairly good. They know how to make people feel special without crossing boundaries. Their compliments are genuine, not manipulative. They just love seeing others smile. And yet, beneath their easygoing tone, there's depth. Libras crave emotional equilibrium, so if the conversation turns heavy, they'll stay grounded, offering thoughtful words and calm reassurance. They're the ones who say, "It's okay, we'll figure it out together," even over text. Their presence feels soothing, like a friend who always knows what to say, even when words fail. Texting with a Libra means entering a space where kindness reigns. You'll never feel ignored or dismissed. They respond, they engage, and they genuinely care about how you feel. Their biggest fear? Accidentally upsetting someone through a careless message. So they take extra time to ensure every word carries harmony. If you ever get a long text from a Libra, read it slowly, because every sentence is a gift of thoughtfulness. They might not say, "I love you," right away, but they'll show it in 100 small ways. Through emojis, gentle reminders, or simply checking in when you least expect it. A Libra's texting style is an art of balance. Warmth without overwhelm, humor without sarcasm, intimacy without pressure. They make you feel seen, heard, and understood, all through the tiny screen in your hand. Scorpio, October 23rd to November 21st. Texting a Scorpio is like unlocking a hidden chamber in someone's soul, dark velvet, mystery, and slow-burning intensity. They don't waste words. Every message they send carries weight, even when it's short. Scorpios are the masters of subtext. What they don't say often means more than what they do. A single "hey" from a Scorpio can hold entire galaxies of meaning. When you text with a Scorpio, you'll feel an invisible energy, like their words are reaching straight into your mind. Their messages are often minimal but deliberate. No unnecessary punctuation, no filler. They text with precision, like emotional snipers. Interesting. I see. Tell me more. Each reply is short, but it invites you deeper. They don't chase, they draw you in. Scorpios don't do small talk. They crave realness, raw, emotional, unfiltered conversation. If you start with, "What are you up to?" they might flip it into something existential like, "Do you ever think about how people change?" Their minds are always exploring the depths, and their texts mirror that. When they trust you, their messages become magnetic, passionate, layered, and shockingly vulnerable. But until they know you're safe, they'll keep their cards close. You won't get instant replies from them all the time. Not because they're ignoring you, but because they're reading your words carefully, feeling them, studying your tone. Scorpios are intuitive texters. They pick up on hidden emotions, even through punctuation. A single period can trigger their suspicion. They'll ask themselves, "Are you upset? Holding back?" They read between the lines like detectives solving emotional puzzles. If they care about you, their texts become protective and possessive in subtle ways. "Text me when you get home. Where are you?" It's not control, it's concern wrapped in intensity. They feel deeply, sometimes too deeply, and they use texting as a way to stay close to the people they love. When Scorpios flirt, it's electric. Their texts are short, sharp, and dripping with intrigue. A simple "thinking of you" from a Scorpio feels like a spell. You can almost hear it whispering. They don't flood your phone, they leave space, letting mystery do the work. It's strategic, but never fake. It's how they express desire, through tension and restraint. Their emoji use is rare but deliberate. When they finally drop a black heart or fire emoji, it feels intimate, like an emotional signature. They don't play around with endless symbols. They choose a few and make them count. But make no mistake, Scorpios feel everything. If you hurt them, you'll sense it in their silence. They won't lash out, they'll withdraw into emotional shadows, typing and deleting, maybe writing you messages they'll never send. When they finally do reply, it'll be calm, composed, but layered with emotion that only a sensitive reader can decode. If a Scorpio opens up to you through text, truly opens up, consider yourself honored. They guard their inner world fiercely, so when they share feelings, it's sacred. They might write, "I don't usually say this, but," followed by something honest, intense, and beautifully human. That's their trust in its purest form. Their texting style also has a seductive rhythm, a push and pull of mystery and revelation. They'll ask probing questions that make you think, "Do they see me?" Yes, they do. Scorpios have an uncanny ability to understand people, and their texts reflect that insight. Conversations with them often feel transformative, like therapy, passion, and confession all rolled into one. Still, Scorpios value privacy. Don't pry. If they want to share, they will, when the time feels right. The more you respect their boundaries, the more they'll let you in. Break their trust, though, and their replies will vanish like smoke. Texting a Scorpio is not for the faint-hearted. It's deep, emotional, and sometimes disarming. But if you're brave enough to dive into their world, you'll discover a rare kind of connection, one built on honesty, loyalty, and unspoken intensity. Their words will stay with you long after you put your phone down. Sagittarius, November 22nd to December 21st. Texting a Sagittarius is like catching up with a friend who's halfway around the world. Their messages come wrapped in laughter, chaos, and the scent of freedom. Sagittarians text like adventurers, with spontaneity that feels alive and unpredictable. One minute, they're sending you a selfie from a mountaintop. The next, their voice noting you from a street market in another city, laughing over some random story. Their digital conversations are like postcards from everywhere, short, bright bursts of excitement that always leave you smiling. A Sagittarius doesn't text out of obligation, they text because they want to share joy. Their energy leaps through the screen. You might wake up to a random text that says, "Bro, guess what just happened?" followed by an epic tale of how they accidentally joined a local parade or made friends with a stranger on a train. Their humor is effortless, their timing impeccable. You'll find yourself grinning at your phone, shaking your head, and wondering how one person can be this full of life. But consistency? Not their strong suit. They'll text you for hours, full of enthusiasm, then vanish mid-conversation, not because they don't care, but because they got distracted by something new, shiny, or exciting. 3 days later, they'll pop back in with, "Lol, sorry I was hiking," or, "I lost my charger somewhere in the desert." And somehow, you can't even be mad, because their carefree energy is infectious. Their texting style mirrors their personality, free-spirited, curious, and full of humor. They're known for their unfiltered honesty, too. A Sagittarius will tell you exactly what they think, no sugarcoating, no double meanings. "That outfit's fire," or, "That guy's bad news," don't even. They believe truth is kindness, even when it's blunt. Their messages can make you laugh out loud or stop and think, depending on their mood. They also love philosophical tangents. You'll start a conversation about dinner plans, and suddenly they're texting about fate, human freedom, or aliens. "Do you think life is just one big cosmic joke?" they'll ask, mid-chat about pizza toppings. That's the Sagittarius mind, vast, restless, and endlessly curious. They hate monotony. Texting that feels repetitive or overly emotional can make them withdraw. They crave lightness and laughter, not drama. If you start overanalyzing or guilt-tripping them for not replying, they'll disappear even longer. But if you match their energy, playful, spontaneous, easygoing, they'll flood your messages with joy, jokes, and random fun facts. Sagittarians are natural storytellers. Every text from them feels like an adventure. Even their typos have personality. They type fast, talk fast, and live fast. Their emojis are wild and excessive. Fire, rockets, globes, laughter, tears, and that cowboy hat face that perfectly captures their goofy spirit. Underneath the humor, though, lies deep sincerity. When a Sagittarius truly cares, you'll feel it. Their texts turn unexpectedly tender. "You're doing great," or "Proud of you," seriously. It's not something they say often, so when they do, it carries real weight. They might not text every day, but they always come back, and when they do, it's with genuine warmth and stories that make you feel alive just reading them. A Sagittarius sees texting as an extension of life itself, an adventure waiting to unfold. They love meeting new people, hearing different perspectives, and keeping conversations light yet meaningful. And if you ever manage to keep up with their energy, you'll find that they're some of the most loyal friends and lovers around. They may wander, but they always circle back to the ones who make them feel free and understood. Their digital footprint is one of laughter, spontaneity, and uncontainable curiosity. So if you're lucky enough to text with a Sagittarius, embrace the chaos. Don't expect schedules or rules. Expect energy, humor, and unexpected wisdom drop between memes and travel photos. Texting them is like chasing shooting stars, fleeting, dazzling, but always unforgettable. Capricorn, December 22nd to January 19th. Texting a Capricorn is like receiving a well-organized memo from someone who secretly has a heart of gold. They're the get-to-the-point texters, concise, reliable, and straight to business. Capricorns don't waste words or time. Their messages are neat, clear, and purposeful, often sounding like they've been reviewed for clarity before hitting send. "Let's meet at 5. Call me when you're done." Got it. That's Capricorn efficiency in a nutshell. But what many people miss is that behind those crisp, professional replies is someone who feels deeply, they just show it differently. Capricorns approach texting the way they approach life, with discipline, practicality, and respect for structure. You won't catch them sending 10 half-thought-out messages when one well-phrased text will do. To them, texting is a tool, not a game. They prefer precision over fluff. Their tone can sound a bit formal, especially at first, but that's just their way of maintaining clarity and avoiding confusion. However, once you earn their trust, their texts start to soften. The serious, "let's confirm the plan," turns into, "can't wait to see you." They won't bombard you with affection, but their warmth shows up subtly, in reminders, in consistency, in the way they check in even when they're busy. "Did you eat? Drive safe. Good luck today." Those small, understated texts? That's Capricorn love. When they care, they show it through reliability. If they text you, "I'll call at 8, they will call at 8. Not 8:05, not tomorrow. Capricorns value respect, for time, for promises, for people. And if they don't reply right away, it's not because they're ignoring you, it's because they're probably buried in work, trying to finish something before giving you their full attention. Their humor tends to be dry, sometimes sarcastic, but always clever. If you send them a chaotic meme, they'll reply with something like, "accurate," followed by a smirking emoji. They might not flood your messages with emojis, but when they do, it's intentional. Each one means something. No wasted symbols, no overuse. Just like their words, their emojis serve a purpose. Capricorns also tend to be protectors through text. They'll offer advice, guidance, or solutions without being asked. "Try restarting it, you should probably get that checked. Here's a better way to do that." It might sound blunt, but it's coming from care. They express love through problem solving, not poetry. They also have a surprisingly romantic side that few get to see. When they finally let their guard down, their texts become warm, sincere, and deeply loyal. "I'm proud of you. You mean more to me than I say." These aren't casual words for them, they're promises. Once they invest emotionally, they commit fully. Capricorns prefer meaningful conversations over endless chatter. You won't see them sending "wide" every hour. But if they're texting you daily, you've become part of their inner circle, a rare and valuable thing. They don't spread their attention thin. They build stable, long-term connections, and their texting reflects that loyalty. They can sometimes come across as emotionally reserved in digital conversations, but their love is steady. They're not big on drama or spontaneous emoji storms. Instead, they'll make sure you get home safe, text you updates when they promised, and remember your big day even if you forgot. If a Capricorn ever sends a random text like, "I miss you," know that they've thought about it for hours before hitting send. Every word they share carries meaning. They don't text impulsively, they text intentionally. So while they may not be the most poetic texters, their reliability is its own kind of romance. Capricorns show up, through words, through timing, through consistency. They may start as pragmatic communicators, but over time, you'll see glimpses of softness between the lines, a quiet tenderness hidden beneath all that structure. Texting a Capricorn is like having a steady light in your inbox, dependable, reassuring, and real. They won't flood your phone with noise, but their presence will feel like stability. They text to get things done, yes, but they also text to remind you that you can count on them, always. Aquarius, January 20th to February 18th. Texting in Aquarius feels like entering a digital galaxy, unpredictable, fascinating, and bursting with originality. Every conversation with them is a ride through their brilliantly unconventional mind. One minute they're asking if you've seen that new documentary about time travel, and the next, they're sending a meme about aliens building the pyramids. Aquarians text like they think, fast, abstract, and often from another dimension entirely. You'll never know what's coming next, but it'll always make you think. They're the rebels of the texting world, and their messages reflect that free-spirited nature. Forget predictable, "good morning" texts. They might hit you with, "If cats could talk, do you think they'd still like us?" before breakfast. It's random, yes, but it's pure Aquarius, endlessly curious, playful, and intellectually alive. Their minds move faster than their thumbs, which means their texts can sometimes look like a string of ideas rather than sentences. So I was thinking about AI consciousness. Also, did you see that meteor last night? And by the way, I'm making soup. It sounds chaotic, but in their world, it makes perfect sense. Aquarians aren't big on emotional oversharing. They'd rather discuss the big picture, society, technology, the stars, than dive into personal drama. But that doesn't mean they don't care. In fact, they care deeply, just in a broader, more humanitarian way. When they ask, "How are you really doing?" they mean it. And if you share something heavy, they'll reply with empathy wrapped in wisdom. Their messages often blur the line between humor and philosophy. One text might make you laugh, and the next will make you question reality. They'll send thought-provoking links, offbeat videos, and random facts that somehow relate to your conversation, or don't, but they'll insist they do. This video about octopus intelligence totally reminds me of your vibe. Aquarians are also masters of the unexpected pause. They can vanish mid-conversation, not out of rudeness but because their brain got distracted by a new idea, project, or rabbit hole on the internet. Hours or even days later, they'll reply with something like, "Sorry, I was reading about quantum entanglement and lost track of time." You can't even be mad. It's them. Their creativity shines in how they use technology. They'll send you links to obscure playlists, weird gifs that somehow match your mood, or perfectly timed memes that make you laugh when you least expect it. Texting with an Aquarius feels like having a best friend, a comedian, and a philosopher all in one contact. They don't do superficial conversations. If you want to bond with them, dive deep. Ask them about their theories, their art, their favorite what-if questions. They thrive on mental stimulation and lose interest fast if the chat stays too basic. But when you meet them at their wavelength, they'll light up your phone with brilliance. Even their emoji use is eccentric. They won't just use a heart or a smile. They'll use planets, robots, lightning bolts, and alien heads. Their texts have personality. They're like little digital fingerprints that scream originality. When they care about someone, their texts turn subtly sweet. Not gushy, not sentimental, but thoughtful. "Hey, I saw something that reminded me of you. You'd totally get this article." That's Aquarius code for affection. They connect intellectually first, emotionally second, but when they do, it's deep and genuine. And though they seem detached sometimes, they're incredibly loyal once they've chosen you. If they're texting you regularly, it means you've made it past their filter, into their inner world, where few people get to go. Texting with an Aquarius isn't just communication, it's exploration. It's laughter mixed with insight, chaos mixed with genius. They'll challenge you, amuse you, and sometimes confuse you, but you'll never, ever be bored. Every message from them is a tiny spark of innovation, a piece of stardust from their cosmic mind. You can't predict it, you can't control it, but you can always count on it being uniquely, unmistakably Aquarius. Pisces, February 19th to March 20th. Texting a Pisces feels like slipping into a dream, soft, emotional, and painted in pastel tones. They text like poets, using words the way painters use colors, tenderly, intuitively, and from the heart. Their messages read like lyrics, full of feeling, imagination, and quiet magic. A Pisces doesn't just text, they feel through their phone. They're the ones who send late night, "Are you okay?" messages when you didn't even realize you needed one. They sense moods through the screen. You could type a simple, "I'm fine," and they'll instantly know you're not. Their empathy is uncanny. If you're sad, they'll feel it too, and they'll respond with the gentlest comfort, like a warm blanket woven out of words. Pisces are the romantics of the zodiac, and their texts reflect that. Expect heart emojis, star emojis, maybe even a moon or two. They'll quote song lyrics, movie lines, or poetry when their own words fall short. "I don't know how to say it, but this song says exactly what I mean." That's a classic Pisces move, channeling emotion through art. Their texts often read like something from a love letter, even if they're just saying hi. "Just thinking about how nice it was talking to you yesterday." Their tone is soft, dreamy, and disarmingly sincere. They don't text to impress, they text to connect, to understand, to feel close. Pisces are also wonderfully unpredictable. One moment they're sending you a deep, emotional confession, and the next, they're texting a photo of their cat wearing a crown. Their humor is gentle, whimsical, and full of imagination. They live in a world slightly tilted toward fantasy, and their texts carry that same dreamy quality. When they're sad, their messages become quieter, slower. Hey, followed by nothing for a while. Pisces retreat into themselves when hurt, but even then, they'll still reach out in small ways. A song link, a subtle emoji, a half-written thought. They communicate through feeling more than language. They're deeply romantic in their digital expressions. When they fall for someone, their texts become love poems disguised as casual messages. Hope you're having a good day really means, I miss you more than I should. They love nostalgia. Don't be surprised if they randomly text you about an old memory or send a photo from a year ago with the caption, "Remember this?" They live half in the past, half in the dream world, always chasing emotional meaning. Pisces are also incredible listeners through text. They'll read every word you send, think about it, and respond with empathy that feels almost psychic. "That must have been really hard," they'll say, followed by a comforting emoji or a gentle piece of advice that somehow hits exactly where it's needed. Their kindness radiates even through pixels. They use texting as an emotional connection, not just communication. And while they might seem overly sensitive, that's what makes their conversations so authentic. They feel deeply, and that's their magic. When a Pisces goes quiet, don't assume they've lost interest. They might just be lost in thought, replaying your last conversation in their mind. They're the type to type, delete, retype, and delete again, not because they're unsure of what to say, but because they want it to feel right. They're dreamers who love connection but sometimes struggle with boundaries. If you share something emotional, they'll absorb it like a sponge. That's why they need people who text with kindness. Words affect them deeply. Texting a Pisces is like diving into a tide of emotion, soft, unpredictable, and beautifully human. They make you feel seen, cherished, and understood in a way few others can. Every message feels like it's written in watercolor, gentle, flowing, and full of heart. If an Aquarius makes you think, a Pisces makes you feel. And in the world of digital connection, that's something rare and unforgettable. So, which texting style sounds like you? Are you the fast-typing Aries or the emoji-loving Pisces? Tell me in the comments. And if this video made you smile, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more astrology insights, and check out the links in the description for even more cosmic content. Because in the end, the stars might just explain why you never got that text back.